The Palmetto Bowl is nearly here. It's been a long and rough season, honestly, for both Clemson and South Carolina. But you win this game, and the season feels a little bit better, or frankly, a lot better. To help me preview this game, let me bring on friend of the podcast and Shaking the Southland writer Matt Goldin. Thanks for being here, Matt.
Yeah, Ryan, glad to be here. Having a nice little Sunday down here in the Low Country. Went over to Charleston to see the Tigers beat the Dogs. On my ride back, got to listen to the Falcons beat the Saints. So I'm having a great start.
You're riding high. All right, well let's start with basketball. I mean, this is a Palmetto Bowl preview mostly, but we got to hit on some other topics. And I got to start with basketball because those were two of the most fun Clemson sporting events, I would say, maybe since Clemson beat Duke in basketball. You were in Charleston for the Georgia game, right?
Correct. Yes.
So let's just dive into that one. Back and forth. Clemson down 10, thought they were going to get blown out. Then up 10, seems like they're going to run away. Then this thing becomes an overtime battle. How was the atmosphere? What were your thoughts on the game? Who stood out? I'll let you take it away since you were there.
Oh man, the atmosphere is tremendous. Obviously, a great Clemson crowd being in Charleston. As we were talking off camera, it's also a lot of UGA people in Charleston, so they had a really strong showing. It's like they said during the broadcast of the West Virginia game the other night. I mean, it felt kind of like a postseason game, maybe a early round March Madness game. These are two teams that I think absolutely will see make the tournament. But man, Justin Porter, that guy had a tremendous game. He was just draining threes. I was excited to see him. Very happy to see RJ Godfrey get his little bit of revenge on Georgia. Oh, yeah. For people who have not necessarily followed all the basketball offseason drama, RJ was a 2-year player at Clemson, transfers down to Athens for a year, and then decides to come back to Clemson. Just another part of the wild world of the transfer portal era here in college sports. But it was a fun game again against two good crowds. And it's funny, talking to my brother who's a UGA alum. Both of us, in our college years, really didn't see a lot of good basketball. He was in Athens. His last year was the year that they made the run in the SEC tournament when the hurricane hit the Georgia Dome and all that. So he did get one tournament year. I never got to see the Tigers make the NCAA tournament when I was a student. So just the fact that both these teams are playing at this high level now it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I thought they both looked really good. I saw John Rothstein said that this looked like a play-in game in the NCAA tournament. I can see this as like an 8-9 kind of game. I thought they were both really impressive. Kid for Georgia, Blue Kane, reminded me a lot of Terrence Oglesby, just taking what for anyone else would be a ill-advised, poor, selfish shot and draining these threes. Did it at the very end to make it a 3-point game, nearly a Georgia comeback. Couple guys stood out. Justin Porter for sure, 18 points, led all scorers. He's a guy. He's actually one of the most critical players for this team because they don't have a whole lot of 3-point shooting. He's got to be the volume guy, a decent percentage for them from 3. 4 for 9 in this game. It was the difference without him. If he goes, 2 for 8 or something from 3, they lose this game. They need that. I thought Dylan Hunter at times was off, especially defensively. Had 4 personal fouls, a lot of them not smart. But down the stretch, big free throws, big buckets, made 2 3-pointers, was 6 for 6 with a lot of those being crunch time free throws. Really clutch play by him. He played 35 minutes. Porter played 40 minutes. Godfrey, as you mentioned, was really good. And Jake Wallin, only 6 points, but he's like a glue guy, man. He comes through with some clutch free throws, great defense. I love Jake Wallin. Let me see if there's anyone I'm leaving off that I want to mention. Nick Davidson, only 6 points. And he's been a guy who's honestly been disappointing for me all year. But I thought in this game, it doesn't show it as much on the stat line, but I thought he battled and actually gave Clemson some really good minutes. He was only 1 for 8 from the field, but he had 9 rebounds, played really tough, had a big assist. Honestly, not bad. Butta Johnson finally had a big game, 13 points. Anything else to shout out there?
I love watching Ace Buckner play. You can tell, son of, legendary Clemson player Greg Buckner. So you can tell it's a kid who's very bought into the program, just plays with so much energy, and I really love watching him. But yeah, Nick, great game from him as well. I was just really impressed by the team and just the energy they're playing with. You can tell these guys, it's going to take, as we've seen, it's going to take a little time just for everybody to kind of mesh together because there's a lot of transfers, but it's kind of standard in college basketball now. And I really think they're starting to kind of, get to know each other. And these two games plus the Georgetown game, I think have just been great learning experiences for Clemson that, win or loss, I think in any of these will benefit Clemson when they get to ACC play. And the fact that you come out of those 3 games 2-1, you can't ask for much else.
Yeah, and Georgetown was kind of a 50-50 game. Clemson was up 3 at the half. Georgia game, they were up 1 at the half. They had a 7-point comeback against West Virginia, but they were all toss-ups late. To win 2 out of 3, that's great. That's resume building. And I think all of these teams, maybe not West Virginia, they lost again to Xavier. But I think Georgia's a tournament team. I think Georgetown's definitely a tournament team. They now have wins over Clemson and Maryland. I think Clemson might be a tournament team. We'll see. Obviously, teams change, but really, really fun team. And one last thing on basketball before we switch gears here. When they say a team is deep, that's good, but sometimes it's like kind of coded language where they have no stars. And it's true. Clemson's best player very well may be R.J. Godfrey, who was a bench player on the Elite Eight team. So that's true. But they do hit you with waves, and Brownell is willing to bench a guy, not giving big minutes down the stretch, who's the star of a previous game, and then this game he's not hot. Carter Welling won the West Virginia game for him. He doesn't play in the last, 10 minutes of this game because other guys had a clicking. And that's fine because they've got that team kind of selflessness going. So I don't know. I think it's a really, really fun team. And I know this is going to be basically a football podcast and a football video, but don't miss out there.
Absolutely. And I mean, definitely once we get after this week, with the Carolina game, have a little bit of time in between football and the bowl game and all that. So check out these Clemson Tigers, man. This is a fun basketball team.
All right, let's talk Palmetto Bowl. I think a big part of the preview, though, is talking about what we learned in the Furman game, and there's some injuries there. So last 2 weeks, they lost Braden Jacobs, who was playing left guard. That's a big one. They lost Walker Parks, who's playing right guard. That's a big one. And they lost Olsen Pat Henry. Turns out it's a knee. He's going to have surgery, so he's not going to play. And then Jaheim Lawson, I think it's an ankle, but I still doubt he plays. I guess we'll find out. Big losses.
That was that was just announced. He is out for the year.
Lawson
is out for the year. Yeah, just hit the wire recently.
All right. Well, thanks for breaking that here for me. So big losses. How does that impact your thoughts on this game?
With the two linemen, I know that those were huge. I'm glad that we got at least, and I know it's just Furman, but I'm glad we at least had a game where that we were able to kind of let our the two backups and Harrison Sewell and Colin Sadler to let them at least get back in and get those snaps under their belt, because I really would not have felt good going in this Carolina game with a completely reshuffled line. But it's tough. Braden Jacobs was just so good. I mean, and was a huge part of this little, run that Clemson football's had at the end of the year. And it was just, it sounds like it was kind of a freak injury. And people kind of like, how did he hurt himself celebrating? You got to understand when a 300+ pound man is jumping in the air, things happen. I had high school teammates that had similar issues. It's just, that's some of the nature. He'll learn a little bit about how to control himself a little, but that is a tough one. Him and Parks, I really, that one, is concerned, especially with the talent Carolina has on its D line. Olsen Pat Henry, again, a solid guy who's, not always the guy everybody thinks of, but he usually seems to be there with a clutch catch when you need him. So we're going to really, I think Clemson is really going to have to hit on Christian Beneker this week, a guy who got a touchdown against Furman, had a great game against UNC, had been kind of quiet. He's going to have to be the guy. We'll probably see a good bit of Josh Sapp as well. But man, Jaheim Lawson, it's a bummer because he has been probably Clemson's best defensive end this year. Him, Will Helt have had, the best seasons. And really, we've had it's been a quiet year for TJ Parker, and he's going to need to step it up this week because, it's going to be really, really solidly on his shoulders. So, I hated the news for Jaheim Lawson. I hated the news for all of them, obviously. But, man, that is a tough loss. And it sounds like with Jaheim, it was on a play that he really even shouldn't have been on the field. And just the kind of the hits keep coming with the way this season's gone.
Yeah, on the one hand, you want good injury luck on a year where you're playing for championships. And then, if it's going to trade off, you're going to have bad injury luck. You want it on a year where you don't really have a whole lot left to play for. But of course, the Palmetto Bowl is always a lot to play for. Before we fully shift gears to that, I want to ask one other thing about the Furman game, and that's the backup quarterbacks. Thought we saw something special. Definitely formed a pretty strong opinion on these backups after this game. What did you think of Vizina, Pierman, and of course Chris Denson?
Well, and I remember we'll get back to the SMU game, there were a lot of people in the fan base that were wanting to see a good dose of Chris Denson. There's been some, buzz around him for a while. And I've definitely been, he did get a snap in that SMU game, but I was really hoping that we would have gotten to see maybe a full quarter of him. But the 2 drives we saw were just outstanding. I mean, on 6 carries, he's the leading rusher. He's a guy that I'm excited about. And I think, I don't know what you really do with him this week in the Carolina game, but I think for the bowl game, if Cade opts out, then I think you pretty much are going to need to split time between Vizina and Denson, kind of let this be like spring. I don't think Cade's going to opt out. So I would really love in the bowl game to see them, work on getting some packages together for Denson and just kind of letting him get some more feel, because that's the best thing you can do for him, for a guy who I'm pretty much convinced is going to be your starter next year, unless Clemson gets somebody.
Yeah, Chris Denson is the starter next year. That's kind of a scary / fun thought. I mean, he was great in the spring game too, but he was outstanding in this one. 4 for 4 with a passing touchdown, 55 passing yards. Ran for 106 in a rushing TD on 6 carries. It's almost 18 yards per carry. Dominant performance by Chris Denson. I like him. And Vizina was fine, I guess. Again, he was 9 for 15 with 52 yards, which is just 3.5 yards per attempt. I don't know if Riley doesn't let him rip it or if he just doesn't have it. So it's hard to judge. But whatever the case, Chris Denson certainly had it and was super exciting. And if you're not going to be good, you better be fun. And he's at least fun. And I don't know if we're going to be good next year, but let's at least have some fun. I want Sam Levitt. I know he's not in the portal yet, but if Arizona State quarterback Sam Levitt wants to jump the portal, he grew up a Clemson fan, even though he's from out west, that would be a lot of fun for 1 year. And then Denson. So that's my hope. And for the South Carolina game, and we can kind of shift gears there now, maybe a drive with Denson.
That's been my thought too, is how, do you try to work him in for the South Carolina game? And I think that would be huge. My main fear is that in the past few losses to South Carolina, we've seen Clemson try to get too cute at bad times. 2022, there was the reverse play on the kick return that ended up being a fumble. We've seen a few different things of, we even go back to 2013 when Chad Morris has Sammy Watkins throw the first pass. I mean, it's just my fear, I think getting Denson the reps could be good. I think he can do something for us. I just don't want this staff to put him in a bad situation that leads to a turnover. And that's my main fear with the Carolina game.
And that's fair. I'm certainly not demanding that we see Chris Denson, but I will say this is the legacy game, if there is one at the stage for Cade Klubnik. I don't care what he does in the Holiday Bowl or the Pinstripe Bowl or whatever it is. I care about, did you beat South Carolina 2 out of 3, or did you lose your last 2 games again? If so, that's not going to be a great legacy. No one's going to care if you had a big Pinstripe Bowl and beat some Big 12 team or something. This is the one. So, to your point, let Klubnik play, even if it's every series, every drive, every snap. This game, and then the bowl game, maybe if he doesn't opt out, give him the first quarter, and then let's see Vizina and Denson have their first audition before that portal opens, because it may be that, look, you're not going to get them both in the spring. You're going to have to decide beforehand, because someone's going to, particularly Vizina, would consider the portal. So let's dive in deeper. Before I do, don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And if you have the option under the video, see if you can hype the video. It really helps a lot. All right, Matt, what is something that has you optimistic about this game? And then we'll flip it and maybe something pessimistic.
I think just the way Clemson's playing, I mean, right now it does seem like, the season is not what any of us hoped. And I think even Josh Pate commented on this after the Louisville win. He's like, yeah, Clemson's still not playing great football, but they seem to really be all balled in. They seem to really be playing for each other. And in this age in football, it's not something that's always a guarantee. And so, I mean, I can tell this really matters to the players. So that's got me optimistic. The other thing is, last year we kind of learned our lesson. Sammy Brown had a pretty good game spying Lenoris Sellers. Then they pull Sammy Brown late in the game, and Lenoris leads the game-winning drive. We know not to do that. Sammy Brown has been a starter now for an entire season. So, I mean, I think the fact that, we've got guys that kind of know, they've seen Sellers, we kind of have some ideas, makes me feel a little bit more comfortable with, how we can contain that.
Yeah. Sammy Brown, probably the best player on defense, unless you're going to say it's Jaheim Lawson. And probably Avion Terrell, I guess, and then Sammy Brown would probably be, I'd say, the two best. But yeah, he'll be in there. He'll be making the big plays. Lenoris Sellers has regressed. He is, I think he's got like 11 passing touchdowns. So hasn't been anything special, which is weird. And on that note, same for Cade Klubnik. He has 20 fewer passing touchdowns than last year. So these two guys were legitimate, and I don't think it was fake local hype. It was like they are legitimate Heisman contenders entering the year for good reason. And both have been not bad, just okay. But I think Cade's the better passer. I think neither team is going to run the ball with the running backs. The offensive lines just aren't there. So I think it's going to be about the quarterbacks. I think Sammy Brown is going to play a huge role in neutralizing Sellers on his legs. So it's who's the better passer. So reason for optimism for me, Klubnik's the better passer. I like that for sure. Even without Wesco, I think I like our receiving core better. With Betancourt starting, you have a little worse blocking, which probably hurts the run game, but helps the passing game. Same goes for Sapp. He's a good receiver, probably not as good of a blocker as Pat Henry. So I think this is going to be a kind of a passing battle, a quarterback battle. And then on the negative there is I'm real worried about this offensive line. As soon as they, sort of funny to say this, as soon as they beat Louisville, and then I also heard that Jacobs and Walker Parks were out, I got way less optimistic about this game, despite them just beating Louisville, ranked win on the road. And look, Sewell and Sadler, I've given them grief all year. I've been really negative. They were good against Furman, but I'm not really going to buy it. It's Furman. I'm still pretty worried about it. I'm kind of a Ronan O'Connell guy. Maybe we see him. I don't know. But I'm pretty concerned about the offensive line. So that's my negative point. I'll flip it to you. Final thoughts, negative point, and then your kind of final thoughts, overview of the game.
Yeah, I got to echo what you're saying. I mean, the offensive line, I think, is what could be an issue. It does feel like from, what Cade has said, he is the healthiest he's been in a while, which that may be a big thing because he may have to try to extend some plays with his legs, throw on the run, a thing we've seen him be able to do. Just try to do whatever he can to take some pressure off that line. But yeah, that is a little bit, that is a big thing that's got me worried is just how this offensive line is going to play. But, to kind of, I guess, wrap this up, it's if you're a younger Clemson fan or didn't start following the program until, the Dabo era, it's kind of what it used to be like. Clemson sewing up bowl eligibility late in November, South Carolina maybe not making a bowl, and not a whole lot to play for except for bragging rights. And I expect this to be a very intense game. I expect it to be there will be it'll be worth everybody's watching. I think that Clemson cannot afford to let South Carolina jump out to a lead like Texas A&M did or like what Alabama kind of did. I don't have the confidence of Clemson being able to mount a multiple point comeback or multiple touchdown comeback quite like that. But, I think if Clemson can kind of go out, play the game they want to play, I think we can come away with a win. We've been playing better in Columbia than we have Death Valley the past few years. So who knows? This might be. I think it was. I'm talking myself into it being a good day for us. This is the first time I read this today. The first time since 2013 South Carolina has been favored in this game, which is one of those stats that makes sense, but it's wild to hear.
Yeah, so it's funny you said that. Yeah, they're 1.5-point favorites, and it's funny you mentioned like this is how it used to be. I just wrote this will be part of a TigerNet article where I said when I was a student, and this is part of the Tommy Bowden era, late Tommy Bowden. People used to say we could lose every game as long as we beat South Carolina, and that just really bothered me. It irked me, like it was setting the bar so low, and South Carolina was so bad that it was like we have such a low bar. We're not pushing ourselves, and I hated it. And of course, South Carolina then got better, and then we got better, and then we're winning national championships. So it sort of worked its way out, and I was sort of proven true in that losing to South Carolina forced Clemson to like not settle and go win a national championship. But now we're back there, and now I couldn't agree with it more. It's true. You win this game. Yeah, the season's in most regards a failure, but not a total flop. You lose this game. I don't care that we beat Florida State, Louisville, Furman. I'd trade all those for this in a heartbeat. So this really is everything. That's how it feels so much different. It feels like this is the Super Bowl, which it shouldn't. Hope it doesn't again, but you're spot on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm don't get me wrong. I'm very glad that we've done what we've done against FSU, against Louisville, all this. But a few weeks back after that heartbreaking Duke loss, I was pretty much like, you know what? I don't care what they do the next few weeks. They should just start South Carolina prep. And obviously, I'm glad I'm not Dabo, because that's not how you run a college football program. And I think Clemson needed to get the wins that they got to help get a little bit more confidence going in this game. But I mean, yeah, this is really, it's really all that's left to play for. The bowl will be just kind of it'll be a good exhibition for seeing the future. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I think I was telling somebody this the other day about the bowls. I was like, you know what, we're going to a bad bowl, but like some of the projections have Pinstripe Bowl, some of them have Fenway Park. Those are pretty neat opportunities. Again, not happy to be there, but like if we're going to have to go to a bad bowl, at least it's something unique. So, I mean, there's going to be some, but again, those are more like fun. I know you'd love that. I know that getting to see Clemson in Yankee Stadium, that's a dream come true for you. I wish it was in better circumstances, but
yeah, not really a dream come true fully, but
but it is kind of fun when those. But yeah, going back to it, I mean, the bowl, it will be fun. There will be a lot of good, but I mean, this is really the last, like, is this season a complete failure or is there a silver lining? And, even outside of that, you win this game, you got 7 wins, you win the bowl game, you have 8. It's a lot more of a respectable season than 6 wins. So,
8-4 was like a typical halfway decent Tommy Bowden season. And Clemson, I was looking at some win expectancy metrics, and they're about win and a half behind because they should have beat it was Duke they should have beat, and not by as huge of a margin, but it was about 60% win expectancy for Georgia Tech. They were lucky to beat Louisville, though that was super low chance of winning. So say we win those 2, lose to Louisville, we're at 7 wins. South Carolina could be 8, a bowl game could be 9. So, a little bad luck, but finish strong and you realize, hey, a little bad luck is kind of the difference between an 8-win Pinstripe Bowl or a 9 or a 10-win. I don't know what bowl that would be, but a halfway decent team here. So
absolutely
not total disaster. So kind of in closing, don't miss this basketball team. They're a lot of fun. Furman, some big injuries, but we got Chris Denson alert. I'm super high on him. Sounds like you're even higher on him than I am, which I didn't think was possible. And South Carolina, we got Matt picking Clemson to win the Palmetto Bowl. I'm a little weary. I won't make a pick, but I'm nervous. Matt, I appreciate you doing this, man. This is always fun.
Absolutely, man. It's always great to come talk ball. And again, I think win or lose, we'll be getting ready for another season before you know it. And, hopefully 2026 looks a little bit better than what we had this year.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun offseason and Clemson basketball cranking, so it's fun again. Thanks for watching, folks. Thank you to our sponsor, Ready Vets. If you live in the upstate and have a dog or cat that needs immediate care, Ready Vets is the place to go. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe.